Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention. Mike has been kind enough to not only be my friend, but actually come back to New Hampshire and say some kind words. Let me just remind you all that it was only a few days ago that Mike showed once again how much he really believes that life is precious, and he took the time to save Robert Pittenger, who was choking. And once again, Mike has always been there when people need him. He's here for us now. And Mike, if you'd say a few words.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. And thanks for coming out tonight for Bob Clegg. I already like the sound of Congressman Clegg. It has a good ring to it. I want to say thanks for coming out this afternoon and supporting Bob. And when I was asked to come up here, the only issue was not if, it was how soon can I come? Because I love this guy, and I want to tell you, he's the kind of person that it's real easy for me to get enthusiastically behind, because I know how desperately our country, not just New Hampshire, but our country needs a congressman like Bob Clegg. And I want to tell you, it was tough getting here because, you know, we landed with a corkscrew landing, had to run through sniper fire getting off the airplane. But I was willing to risk that because of my incredible affection for this guy to my left. But let me say to you, the only time Bob would ever be to the left of me or anybody is on a stage. Because nobody can ever question his true credentials as a conservative. But he understands that as a conservative, it means trying to keep taxes low. It also means about trying to hold government back like you'd hold a horse back that's wild and out of control. Bob understands that because that's what he's done in the state Senate. When other people thought it would be easy just to go ahead and fall over and let the spending bills come, it was Bob Clegg that often was the roadblock to craziness and insanity in New Hampshire. And he's got a reputation for not being the kind of guy who can easily be pushed over or hoodwinked. In fact, as most of you know, Bob was the backstop of the state Senate in New Hampshire. Not only did things go through him before they could get done, but he stopped a lot of stuff that should never have happened. And thank goodness, because Bob Clegg was there, it didn't happen. That kind of courage and tenacity is exactly what we need in the U.S. Congress right now, as assured in what we've done. You know, I know Bob is a strong pro-life, pro-family kind of candidate who doesn't have to wake up every morning and read the latest poll numbers of the newspaper to say, let me see what I need to believe today. He's a person whose compass points true north. He knows who he is, he knows what he believes, and he'll take those convictions and principles, and he won't forget where he came from when he gets to Washington like a lot of people do. He's not running for Congress because he needs the job. He's not running for Congress because he's got some incredible ego that needs to be fed by getting a title like congressman. He's running for Congress because after all these years in the state Senate, here's a guy who actually understands what Washington is doing to the states. Here's a guy who understands that in Washington they've ignored the 10th Amendment. It's like they got to number 9 and just quit reading past that. He gets it. He understands that the strong traditions that made New Hampshire a great state, which was basically leave us alone, is exactly what Washington hasn't done. They've imposed incredibly expensive mandates on us, forcing states to have to pay the bills for stuff shoved down our throats. I know this as having been a governor 10.5 years. He knows it from having been a state senator trying to make sure that New Hampshire could balance its budget within the context of a lot of that craziness. And because we spent a lot of time together over the past 1.5 years traveling New Hampshire and talking and visiting, I feel like I got to know him in a way that maybe many of his constituents never even got to know him. But the thing that I was impressed and have been impressed most, there's not a different Bob Clegg in the car in the quiet moments than the one that you see making his speech or doing a television or a radio ad. He's the same guy because he's the real deal. He's not a phony. He's not somebody that'll tell you one thing when he's shaking your hand and campaigning and then tell something else when he gets away from you. You ask him a question, he's going to give you an answer. Even if you don't necessarily like the answer, he's going to give you a straight-up answer because he's more interested in telling you the truth than just in telling you what you want to hear. That's pretty refreshing for a person running for office these days. I want to say to every one of you, I hope that you'll do several things. One is give generously to his campaign. And you know, their old saying is, give till it hurts. I got a different attitude about that, especially when you're electing somebody who's going to be a real watchdog for your wallet when he gets to Washington. The maximum anybody can give to a congressional race is $2,300. And whilst that may seem like a lot of money, I want to just remind you that if guys like Bob Clegg don't get to Congress, your tax bill every year will be far more than the $2,300. And you only have to do that every other year to keep him in Congress. But it's a real bargain. So rather than say give till it hurts, I'd say give till it feels real good. And it will feel a whole lot better having a conservative, budget-watching Republican in Congress than someone who doesn't understand what it means to mind the budget day after day after day. His wisdom, his experience are exactly what we need in Congress and what we don't have a whole lot of. And I'm not just here because Bob campaigned for me. Frankly, I probably would have done that. He helped me, I probably would have helped him. But I didn't come out of a sense of obligation. I came up here out of a sense of genuine conviction that Bob Clegg is the kind of person that I wish we had so much more of in Congress. And I would tell you this, if here in the Granite State, you guys don't have the good sense to send him to Congress, I'm going to encourage him to move to Arkansas because we hadn't got many congressmen with good sense down there, and we sure could use a Bob Clegg. So keep Bob from moving south. Even though I do want to tell you something, folks, it's 10 degrees cooler in Little Rock than it is in Nashua today. Now, something's wrong with that. I want you to know. I came up here in the winter and froze my rear off. I'm up here in the summer, and now I'm burning up. So help me to understand. I believe that if you elect Bob Clegg to Congress, he's going to fix that extreme temperature in the winter and the summer. He will end this global warming by himself and turn the thermostat back down to about 70 where it belongs in New Hampshire in June, and it'll be about 60 in January. Now, if you believe that, you probably voted for a Democrat the last time, and it's time for you to wake up and give this guy the opportunity to be your next congressman and one of America's truly great congressional leaders, which I am absolutely convinced that he will be.